Okay, guys, let's finish this up. This is AP World History, Chapter 6, Part 3. We've talked about the Mesoamerican societies and South American societies. We're just going to finish up real quickly with the early societies of Oceania. Not nearly as much to be said about these people as the other two on our list. There wasn't writing. They didn't leave behind a lot of things for us to come in and see, so not nearly as much known about them. What we do know is that migrants made it to the islands of Australia and New Guinea at least 60,000 years ago. So very, very, very long time ago, on rafts and canoes that they made. Again, remember that in that time period, the sea levels were much, much lower, so the long-distance oceanic travel wasn't nearly as hard to overcome as it is now. There's no way that you could just get out there on a canoe in the ocean and do that now. But the stopping points were much, much closer back then. These other peoples, of course, just like anybody 60,000 years ago, were hunter and gatherers in nature. There was no agriculture, of course. These Austronesian peoples is what we call anybody in this Southeast Pacific region. That's their language-speaking group, Austronesians. Great maritime people. They were very good on the sea. But basically, these people migrated to New Guinea and Australia and other areas. But what happens is there's two different developments. The people in Australia remain hunter-gatherers until a couple hundred years ago, until Europeans come to Australia and take it over and use it as a penal colony for English convicts. Until that point, they're hunters and gatherers. New Guinea, which lays a little north of Australia, they, on the other hand, are influenced by Thailand and some of the islands just south of China, and they actually adopt agriculture. Of course, once adopting agriculture, you have a population boom and you have specialization that develops. Population pressures lead to people's venturing out. When you're on an island and you have and population booms, resources become very scarce. So you see a lot of migrations of these people leaving their islands for other islands, and they'll eventually spread all across the Pacific, making their way all the way to Hawaii, roughly 1,700 years ago, to found societies there. Really, other than that, there's not a whole lot to say about the oceanic peoples. But what we do want to do before we close this out is look back to our essential questions here. Now, they're the same as they were for last chapter. This is still applicable to all of our early societies. The next part that we're going to go into is the classical age, classical era, these great empires that will be built. But none of those are possible without these first complex societies arising from our hunter-gatherer days. So let's look at these questions. How have human societies reflected changes in human adaptations to the environment? Well, Mesoamericans had artificial terracing and farming to help them survive in areas with bad soil. We saw that with the Maya. You definitely saw it in the irrigations and canals that the Andean peoples used to survive in the mountains. You're talking about 8,000 feet in elevation that some of these societies are living. That's tough to survive in. As far as the oceanic people, Australia is a very, very tough place to live. Most of it's desert. They adapted by, they had 121 different plants that they ate. They had 124 plants that they used as medicine. So humans are ingenious in using nature to help them survive. How did the development of complex societies change how people lived? Think about all of the large city kingdoms that develop in Mesoamerica and the constant fighting over wealth, prestige, and resources. In South America, it's the same thing as it was in Mesoamerica. As far as Oceania goes, there were a few different ways to live. There was the hunter-gatherer lifestyle, and there was the cultivation lifestyle that New Guinea adopted. How did the advent of agriculture change the relationship between humans and the environment? The story's still the same. Agriculture leads to population. Population leads to specialization. Specialization leads to improvement. Technology, standard of living, all of those things were improved through agriculture. That's why the agricultural revolution is one of the most important events in human history, bar none. Okay, that'll work for this chapter. We'll see you next chapter.